Hey y'all, welcome back to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends giggle, snort, and recap their way through a new romance novel, usually each week. This week, before we actually jump into the book, I have a very special Patreon shout out. Well, they're all really special, aren't they? Leslie B., this goes out to you. You are a unicorn of care, companionship, and silliness. Throughout the ages, unicorns have gotten pigeon-holed as creatures of sweetness and light. And while you've got those characteristics in spades, you also prove the species has so much more to offer. Your sass, longing for new challenges, and commitment to the safety of your herd is unmatched. I mean, you basically have a bayonet on your head, and you know how to use it. Plus, I have to say, that flowing mane of curly waves is something that even us land mermaids need to tip our hats to. I have to say thank you so much to all of our patrons, and we're going to keep on moving through these shout-outs. So if you haven't heard your name on the podcast yet, you absolutely will. And now, let's jump into part 1 of our discussion of How to Flirt with a Naked Werewolf by Molly Harper. It's book 1 in her Naked Werewolf series, and a fun ride from start to finish. After all, it's one of Erin's favorite books, so let's jump right in. Hey, Erin.
Hello, Melody.
How the hell are you?
Pretty good. I'm having a great day. It's a Friday. I have the day off.
Ooh,
it's nice.
That's pretty awesome.
Still had to get up at 5 a.m. to reread this book, but hey,
oh boy.
That's fine. That's
there
fine.
You go.
I love this book.
I pulled a muscle in my neck sneezing yesterday.
What's funny is you told me that when we sat down, and I laughed then, and yet still I almost spit out my coffee again.
Yep, you almost did a spit take. I'm really proud of myself, frankly.
It's so fucking funny.
It really is. It's like tragical.
I know they can't see you, but I can. Can you pantomime what the sneeze looked like? Did you throw your head all the way back or something? What happened?
I think so I hold my tension all in my shoulders anyway. So it was just a normal head goes forward, shoulders go up kind of situation. And somehow it just made a prang all up in my shoulder and neck. So...
that's funny.
Yeah.
I did that. I mean, this is the right way to pull your neck. If you're going to pull your neck, this is a normal way. But I did that doing a farmer's carry of some kettlebells last week. You know what I'm talking about? Where you just carry them at arm's length. Oof. The trainer guy was like, put your shoulders back. And I was like, sure. And it just went zing all the way up my neck. And I was like, pinched some kind of a nerve or something. I don't know. Yeah, that hurt.
I mean, one time I pulled my neck just by standing at the fax machine and looking slightly to the right. That's all I did, literally.
You can do that. Yeah.
That's all I did. I looked like a quarter turn to the right, and my neck, I couldn't move it for 4 days.
Well, I mentioned this on the Facebook cult a couple weeks ago, but I once strained my back yawning. It was like a big yawn. I was doing a big stretch. I was like, I'm getting up in the morning, doing a big stretch, doing a big yawn. And I just tweaked the shit out of my back. I think I was dehydrated.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of your favorite books. Was this a listener recommendation, or is this an Erin, I want to read this recommendation?
Listen, okay. Wait. Okay, I want to answer that question, but I have to talk about something.
Oh.
At the top of the show.
Carry on.
I've been forgetting to do it for 3 to 5 episodes.
Uh-oh. I'm worried.
Do you remember how we talked about dueling in the Duke and I? And then we talked about dueling again when we read 10 Rules to Break When Romancing a Rake.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Okay. Of course I do.
And that was when I started my low-key campaign to low-key bring back dueling. Hashtag bring back dueling. But I can't because I'm a member of the armed forces.
Court martials exist.
It's an enumerated offense under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Well, guess what?
What? It's
We're
no
getting
longer
a new uniform code of military justice for 2020. And guess what isn't fucking in there anymore? Dueling.
They think it's no longer applicable, but hashtag bring dueling back in 2020.
Hashtag bring back dueling. Like, it worked. Our, like, low-key efforts to bring back dueling worked.
Man, you are a revolutionary. Madam.
Finally, we're going to thin that herd of toxic masculinity. They'll
right.
start thinning themselves out now by dueling with each other.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm pretty sure dueling's still a crime because you're challenging another person to fight to the death, and you're fighting him to the death, and you can't consent to an ag assault. But, you know, they're not going to call it dueling anymore, so I call that a win. So I needed to say that to our listeners. We won, guys.
Oh, good job.
Right. But yes, this is one of my favorite books. When we started the podcast, I was like, this is good. Like, part of it was you and I get to talk every week and catch up and not drift apart in our friendship. But part of it was also Erin gets to make Melody read a lot of books that she wants Melody to read. I think this is the dream of many friends of like, I'm going to force you to read this book that I want to talk to you about. And this was one of them. I'm like, this is great. We'll start the podcast. We'll read this book. We'll read that book. We'll read this book. And like immediately it was Christmas. So we're like, okay, we got to read Christmas books or like, you know, holiday books. And then immediately after that, we started the 5-star review bribe, where if you give us a 5-star review and mention a book, we will do that book. And then suddenly there were 100 books in our
list
queue. And I was like, fuck, I wanted to read my werewolf books. Now it's all crowded up with historicals I don't want to read. Like, this is bullshit. So I really wanted to read this book. And then one day we were on the Twitter and somebody who had given us a 5-star review mentioned this book. And I was like, that's good enough for me.
That's
so I put it on the list.
I dig it. I mean, I still have a couple of books in there that I'm like, no, I'll put them lower on the list, but we're gonna read it at some point.
I mean, we've inserted some books that I think we're not breaking our promise to you. We're gonna do the books.
Yeah.
But like we inserted After the Wedding, which I think was a good insert. We
fantastic
inserted
idea.
The Kiss
Thank you very
Quotient,
much.
which I think was also
a
fantastic ad. I have inserted, what's the first one in... A Princess in Theory. We inserted that.
No, it's A Princess Theory.
A Princess Theory.
You keep saying
A
Princess in Theory.
Whatever,
and you actually did it in a tweet where you tagged the author. So
did I?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So Alyssa Cole, we know the title to your book.
She's not. We're not that cool.
You don't know her.
You're right.
I know. I wish we knew her.
Sorry.
She's
Why
so
didn't you
good.
tweet back and say you were sorry that I'm a dumbass? Oh man, now we're even.
Oh, actually, I just looked it up again. It's The Princess Theory. I think
my
I'm
God,
still
we're
closer.
the fucking worst. God damn it.
I know.
Well, anyway, that's on the list. So we've been inserting our favorite books in here, but this one somebody did actually recommend on Twitter's.
Yeah. Well, and so why don't we just get in there? This is How to Flirt with a Naked Werewolf
by Molly Harper. One of my faves.
Yeah. And you said that you've read this, like 5 times?
No, I've read it 2 times, which is more than I've read almost every book that I've ever read. I listened to it. So when I made my 3-week commute up to Alaska, when I moved up here, I loaded up my audiobooks with a bunch of Alaskan-themed romance novels. This was one of them. So I listened to it, and then I read it afterwards, which is... I don't reread books. I've maybe reread 4 books in my life, so it's high.
I rarely reread. Sometimes I do. Yeah, but this is cool because it actually starts at the tail end of her 3-week trek across America.
Yeah.
Because the heroine is moving from Mississippi to Grundy, Alaska.
Uh-huh.
Is Grundy a real place?
Grundy is not a real place.
Okay.
I think that the place that they are trying to, like, maybe she modeled Grundy after is McCarthy, Alaska, and that's where they film Edge of Alaska, if that's a reference for anybody.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fake show, right?
Pilgrim's Wilderness took place. I mean, it's a quote-unquote reality show, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But they filmed an episode of Edge of Alaska where they were like, should we bring electricity to this town? And like there were factions in the town going back and forth of like, electricity's gonna ruin this town. We're not bringing no electricity generators. And they were like in the streets, like doing a little war about it. And like we had been there the week before and there's like vending machines and like it's a normal. So like they take some liberties, I think, with reality.
Fair enough. Okay, so yeah, we open up the book and she is, what's our heroine's name?
Mo Weinstein.
Yes, Mo Weinstein. And that is absolutely a nickname because she has insaney pants parents.
Right. So part of the reason she's decided, 2 reasons, she's going to just like vacate Mississippi, go to Alaska, just like pick somewhere on the map. She wants to just get as far from Mississippi as she can. And she just Googled places far away in Alaska. And she found this one. Her fiance and her broke up. She had like a nice, conservative, normal fiance, and the sparks just weren't there. They broke up. And also her parents are fucking wackadoos. Who,
Her parents are like Nutter Butters hippie peeps, who have like a commune in Mississippi, and she grew up on the commune. So she was like, I learned sort of quickly not to really make friends because people could be there for 3 weeks or they could be there for 3 years and then they were gone again.
And her parents were the only crazy enough ones to like be there all the time, commune, devoted, full time.
So all of her, a lot of the first chapter is devoted to her describing her different acts of rebellion over the years, which included things like demanding to go to public high school and working at a drive-in diner situation where, in her mother's words, she charred animal flesh.
Right.
And, like
eating said animal flesh.
Eating said animal flesh. That's a big one. All the Hostess snowballs she could get her hands on.
Oh, the sugar, the processed foods. Yeah.
Those were all of her little acts of rebellion. And then, of course, she realized later that being with this fiance who she didn't really have super sparks with was also kind of an act of rebellion because he stood for everything that her parents didn't, basically.
Yeah. Like he was a Republican, he was a square, he paid taxes, gasp, to the federal government. Yeah, so they broke up and now she's running away. She's trying to find a new life.
Yeah, and it's actually not quite about her fiance even. It really is about her mom. She and her mom have a really, really tough relationship because her mom has based a lot of her identity on having this daughter and guiding her to sort of be a carbon copy of herself. Right. And she also has boundary issues. So she describes her mom just like showing up randomly and going through her bills. And that's how she finds
all
out
her food out, like going through her pantry.
How dare you touch my kitchen, madam? You leave the snowballs alone.
And Mo especially because she is a very good cook, and she probably took a lot of offense to throwing out all of her ingredients.
Yeah.
So
she arrives in Grundy.
Yeah. It's the summertime.
I don't know why she chose this 4x4 like crazy inefficient gas mileage car to go from cheap. Mississippi to but she says that she's got a nest egg that she doesn't have to work in Alaska for a good year or two. Just upgrade a tiny bit so you're not spending $1,000 extra on gas. I don't get it, but fine.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe she just really wanted to fit in Grundy, Alaska.
Yeah. Well, and so when she gets there, it's summertime. She checks in with the like town lawyer / realtor who gets her fixed up in the Myers place. One of the reasons I reread this, because I listened to it first, then a couple months later after I'd been here a little while, I read it because I wanted to know like how accurate the stuff was.
Oh yeah.
And the answer is super duper accurate. Like
really?
and especially this time I was reading back and I was like, okay, yeah, that's good stuff. Like so she goes into the Myers place. They were going to have somebody clean it up before she got there. So he was expecting her to stay in a hotel the night that she arrived in town before she started renting this place. And she was like, no, I don't want to stay in any more hotels. I'll clean it myself. That's fine. And it had been like a pack of fishermen where she's like finding fish everywhere. And there's just like disgustingness all over this cabin. And I was like, I think that's pretty accurate. Anywhere you go, if you rent like a car in Alaska or you go stay somewhere, there's always like a no fish, like clause. Like if you rent a car, they're like, no fish in the car, 0 fish. It's like, okay, I got it. Like, yeah.
That's smart though.
This cabin must have not had a no fish clause.
Yeah, because she said there was like 50 fish, just like sometimes just hanging in the pantry or hanging in the bathroom and on the floor of the hallway, like craziness. I mean, it feels like these guys like frat partied out at some point and were doing like animal puppets, like sock puppets with the fish, and then just left drunkenly in the morning. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was an odd description. But yeah, I was wondering how accurate it was because as a non-Alaskan, now being friends with the current Alaskan, I was like, I wonder, I mean, I found out afterwards, but as I was reading it, I was like, I feel like there's not enough time spent on the lack of darkness in the summer and the lack of light in the winter. Like she never mentions it. You know what I mean? So I was like, I didn't know if it was just because the author, it was so commonplace for her now, but she's from Kentucky. So I don't know. I don't know if that was something that, you know,
she
really
also
crossed
has
her
a series set in Kentucky. But also I think she does mention it in the winter, but not really in the summer.
Yeah, and I feel like that is almost more jarring, where you're like, because you at some point, you were like, oh my God, I forgot to go to bed, and I just realized it's 1 a.m.
All the time. Like, all the time. You'll go over to a friend's house for dinner, and you'll just be chatting about, you know, like, stuff, work, boys, you know, stuff. And then you'll just look at the clock, and you'll be like, I need to leave your house because it's midnight on a Tuesday, and I'll be leaving soon. Like, it's just very weird thing. Yeah. But that means that you can go on a run at 11 p.m. and not have to worry about it being dark outside. It's perfectly light. It's not dangerous, you know, because it's like the sun's up. Or like you feel good cleaning your house at 9 p.m. You don't have that like, oh, it's so late, you know.
No, totally.
But then in the winter, all you want to do...
catch up with you.
It catches up with you when winter hits, and all you want to do is lay around and eat carbs and just snuggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Realtor guy sets her up in the place. He tells her that the men are going to be very happy to meet her because it's not every day that a unattached pretty girl moves into town.
Yeah, and he sort of fancies himself the town matchmaker, which I find really endearing.
Adorable.
And so she spends the whole first night cleaning, and then she goes into town the next day, right, to get like supplies, and then she's going to go eat lunch at the Blue Glacier Saloon. It's a saloon, everybody, and I love that so hard. So goes to the saloon, and she meets, is her name Ellie?
Evie.
Evie. Sorry.
Her BFF, her new BFF that owns the Blue Glacier Saloon. She goes there to get a bite and get stuff and whatever. Yeah. And
she's chatting with Evie.
Sitting at the bar, chatting at Evie, new girl in town, like trying to figure out where she's from and stuff. No less than like 25 men come up to her and like, hey there, we've noticed you're female.
And court her in various ways.
Yeah, offering her meat and cable TV.
Yep.
All the amenities.
Right. One of my favorite lines in there is she's like, hey, so is this like normal? Should I expect this every day? Or is it just because it's day one? And Evie was like, listen, lady, you're a reasonably attractive human and you're unattached in Grundy, Alaska. It's going to happen every day. And she was like, well, no. And then Mo is like, I really like this about Mo. She literally says out loud, well, I don't know why reasonably had to be thrown in there, but fine. Fine. It's
a really funny book, you guys.
It is so funny.
And so I think if you actually move to a smaller place like Grundy, you would experience that, because even in Anchorage, which is like 300,000 people, like you get on Match.com and it's a little bit intimidating here. My coworker and I got on Match.com at the same time.
Okay.
And we were going to kind of like help each other. First, we 99% matched with each other, so that was awkward. We were like, okay, but moving on. I got like in the first day, probably like over 100, close to 200 messages in the first day my thing was up. And so we put it up on a Sunday. So I got to work on Monday with my phone and I was like, hey man, like, let's go through our matches. And he's like, I don't have any matches. I didn't get any messages. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we went through, but that's normal because boys usually message girls on those unless you're on Bumble. Like, that's a normal thing, right?
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, let's just scroll through the ladies that are in the thing and we'll find some to send matches to. And it was just like, ooh.
There are 6 of them.
Yeah, it was not a great selection. I was like, oh no. And I don't think it's because there aren't attractive available women in Anchorage. I think they just don't want to be on those dating websites because we are outnumbered by a lot and it is pretty intimidating, I think. But it was so funny. Anyway,
I love it.
So while she's at the bar,
she goes to get up. She goes to get up out of the stool, and then her boot catches on a loose floorboard or something, and she falls backward into the hard surface that we learn is Cooper.
Cooper. He's the hero. He's big, tall, guy.
And warm.
Real warm.
He's got some scruff.
She looks at him and she's like, this is the kind of guy that in my old life back in Mississippi I would have slept with before the first date. So I need to like calm it down, like tamp it down a little bit because I'm trying to be a new person. I'm moving on in my life. We're not going to fall for these traps anymore. And he's kind of an asshole to her because Evie introduces her and he's like, she's not even going to make it through the first winter. I'm not even going to learn her name. Like,
he's a dick. And my other favorite part of this is she goes, oh, so he's a huge asshole, then I'm definitely gonna sleep with him.
She's like, oh no. I was like, I hear you, Mo. I'm down. I gotcha.
I know, you too. You don't know what to do with yourselves. So that meeting is sort of uneventful. He goes to a separate edge of the bar, and this famous waitress in town.
Lynette.
Yeah, Lynette, always wants to be the hottest commodity in the room. She immediately makes a beeline for Cooper because he's really unattainable. So Mo notices that Lynette is just like laying it on thick, like she's brushing him with her hips and she's doing all the things, and he's just firmly ignoring her.
Does not care. Cooper also tells Mo that she ought to try Evie's famous pie and that it'll change her life.
Yes.
And then she mentions it and somebody's like, no, Evie's terrible in the kitchen. If you eat any of her pie, you're going to be on the toilet for like a week hating yourself.
And she's like, why would he tell me that it's life-changing? And they go, well, a week on the toilet would probably be super life-changing.
She's like, oh, he's a jerk. Yeah. He doesn't want me here. So then what happens is Evie's husband, Buzz, is usually in the kitchen, even though he's not super great at it, but it's like the only place to eat in town, so people really don't have a choice. And he and another guy, I think Pete, were daring each other whether or not their knife was sharp enough to cut through a beer bottle. Which
dumbasses.
Sounds so ridiculous, but also so plausible. Like, that's such a thing that men would dare each other to do.
So he comes out and he is bleeding profusely.
Yeah, really bad. So they have to rush him to the ER.
Yeah. And she is like, Evie's going through all the options. She's like, we can close the saloon. We can do this. We can do that. And then Mo steps in and she's like, I was a short order cook all throughout high school. And for a couple of years afterwards, I can jump in. Like, I can absolutely do that. I know
how to make a tuna melt and a French fry. I got it.
Absolutely. So they agree. And then they find out after a long day in the kitchen where she's like, oh man, I forgot how much I enjoyed this, because she's been working in marketing for a little while. Because again, safest careers possible in opposition to her family. And so she really likes it. And then Evie's like, hey, so they had to take him to the actual hospital 300 miles away. He's in surgery, and they said that he's not going to have use of his hand for a few months. So you want the job? And meanwhile, she had planned to just figure her life out and do some soul searching for the first year. And then if she wanted to stay, then she would find some gainful employment because she has this nest egg. But she's just like, you know what?
I like it.
Yeah. I like being useful. I like it here.
It's a good way to meet everybody and like integrate into the community that really doesn't favor outsiders in the first place. Yeah. Also that day she meets Alan, darling.
Alan, darling.
Just the most unfortunate character. A U.S. Forest Service Ranger. And he's just so hot. She's like, so if they put him on a poster for Move to Alaska, like thousands of single women would rush up here. He's got big old blue eyes and sandy hair, and he just loves her. And he's just like always doing nice stuff for her and giving her smiles.
Yeah. Poor Alan.
Anyway, so yeah, she's flirting with Alan, but you guys, Alan's not gonna win. So you know that. That's the thing, you know that going in, even though she's going on these dates with poor Alan. Anyway,
what? I don't know. I think it's a good thing, though.
What?
I mean, I don't know.
What do you mean? For Alan, that he ought to learn a lesson?
I don't know why I feel so that's fine about it. He got a few makeouts out of the deal later on.
He did.
Who knows? Anyway, yeah, and so then, like, they spend the first few months, she's at the diner, she's, or I guess the saloon. I should stop saying diner. It's not a diner. Although it's basically diner food before she steps in.
It's a diner and, like, kind of pool hall sort of situation.
Yeah. And she is just figuring out life in Grundy. She is, cooking at the saloon. She's getting her house set up and figuring out how to live in a cabin and like make it cute.
Right.
And
Evie is Cooper's cousin.
Yes.
And every time Cooper comes in, so it's clear that like Mo and Alan, the forest ranger, are kind of flirting. They like go on a little dinner date. Like they're kind of hooking up a little bit. Evie's not about it. Every time Cooper comes in and skulks around,
Evie's so salty about it.
She's like, hey, Mo, look at Cooper and how hot and sexy he is. My cousin, like, don't you want to get with Cooper? And Mo's like, he's so mean. Like, he's the meanest guy. And Alan's super nice to me.
He doesn't like me. I don't know why you keep pushing this, because he objectively hates my insides and my outsides and everything around me. Like, she's like, I don't understand why you're doing this. So they run into each other at the grocery store at some point.
It's such a great little scene. She runs smack into him with her cart, and he's like, you might want to get that depth perception situation, like, worked out. Yeah, and she's like, rah, rah, rah. And he says something about, she's like buying way too much food, and he's like, were you having a party or something at your cabin with your no friends because you just moved here? And she's like, I just like food. And she's like, what are you, on Adkins or something? Because his whole cart is like full of meat. Yeah, and the whole time she's just like checking out his hands and like checking out his package, checking out those abs,
his robust shoulders.
Yeah, she keeps blushing and she's like, stop it. He's so mean. And they just have a little like, we hate each other, and then, skulk off. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
She also has a wolf encounter in these first few chapters.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. The very first night in her cabin, she hears a rustling outside, goes outside, and like 30 feet away is this dying elk and a wolf like over it, looming over it, just
the
about
elk is
to.
Like, it's like,
yeah.
Is that a good podcast noise?
I think so. I think that's really good.
Good.
It's going to get them. It's going to set the mood. So the wolf is just about to like tear its throat out and finish the job, but it looks up and its crystal blue eyes meet with hers, and it gets really distracted, and so the elk gets up and starts floundering away again. So
the wolf's like, all right, I'm gonna check.
Yeah, I gotta get my fucking dinner. Thanks a lot.
Guess who else has crystal blue-green eyes? It's Cooper. Cooper has crystal blue-green eyes. And then sometimes when she meets Cooper's eyes in the saloon, she's like, gosh, those crystally, bluey, greeny eyes, they just look so familiar. And
Where
I don't know, maybe
it's
that wolf that keeps coming back to my no. That's crazy.
That's Nutter Butters.
And let me also say, one of the reasons that this wolf keeps coming around.
Oh, yeah, dumbass.
Is that, okay, bing, boom, bong.
Wilderness safety with Erin.
You don't have to live in Alaska for this one. Mo keeps throwing her fucking leftovers out the back door in her backyard to be like, here, woodland creature. Like she's Snow White or some shit.
Here's Squirrely Squirrely.
Mo.
Have some breads.
Yeah.
No, Mo.
That's not even okay in Mississippi. Like, don't do that. You're going to get deers and alligators, maybe. I
mean, all the things.
Yeah.
So
dumbass.
So we find out much later that the wolf keeps on coming by her house because it's following all of the tinier bread-eating creatures that are coming around her door.
She's like, how wonderful. All the squirrels and raccoons and possums are coming over to my door.
Look at that little bunny. Like, you know what eats bunnies, dumbass?
Werves.
Sorry, where were we? We were at the grocery store. So they keep on having like little run-ins like that where they see each other at the grocery store, or he will often come into the saloon because remember, his cousin owns it. And, you know, she learns his favorite order and all of that, but they don't have any sort of substantive conversation. Yeah. And then one day, Evie and Buzz are both out of town. And she's closing up. Well, she wasn't planning on closing up for the night, but then
somebody got sick and went home or something like that. Yeah.
So she was going to close up by herself, and she was like, it's no big deal. I know how to run the bar. Oh, because this place also turns into a bar at night. It's just the best. So she's going to close up, and then there's this trucker guy sitting at the bar, and he's sort of hitting on her, and she's getting all the weird feels. This is where one of the patrons like calls her over and is like, hey, is that outsider messing with you? And she's like, hold on. Did they just refer to that guy as the outsider?
I'm not an outsider anymore.
I think I'm in.
I did it. And so she does all the right things. Like when she closes up, those two guys walk her to her car. There's nobody out there. She's fine. It's in her head. And then she realizes she forgot to take the trash out.
Yeah. And they had like clam chowder. Yeah, that's the one.
For lunch. And so she's like, I gotta take that trash out. So she gets out of her car, goes back in to take the trash out.
Has her keys in between her fingers.
Does the key finger thing. Mo's doing all the right things.
She is.
Now, currently, Mo is doing all the right things. So then this guy comes out of nowhere and he's like,
I left my hat in there.
And she's like, okay, well, I can't really go. I can't let you back in there. Yeah. And he's like, well, just go in with me. And she's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. No. And he's like, but it's my favorite hat. And she's like, well, come by tomorrow morning and you can get your hat. And he's like, well, I got to leave early tomorrow morning. So, you know, just like, let's go in and look for my hat. And she's doing it right.
And she's like, nope, I'll send it to the trucking company if you want. Yeah. Or I'll send it to the motel. Or I'll send it to somewhere that's not you right now.
So finally he just kind of gives up the act and he's like,
assaults her.
Yeah. I'm robbing the place. I'm going to slam you against this brick wall. Then he strangles her for a little bit.
Yeah. He basically insinuates that not only is she going to help him get the money, but they're going to spend some quality time together while they're inside.
Yep. Yeah. Because she's been so rude to him. So she scratches up his face with the keys a little bit.
Yeah. And he's like, you bitch my face. And it's like, rah.
But then out of nowhere, comes a wolf.
Yeah, she kicks him in the balls. Like, she incapacitates him. It's good.
Yeah, she would have done fine.
Yeah.
But out of nowhere comes a wolf to go get that guy. And he bites him.
Well, and she's thinking, like, oh, this is great. I either die by the hands of the robber rapist right here, or I die by the teeth of the wolf that's currently in front of me. But then she realizes as she, like, sprints away from the dude that the wolf has squared up to the guy. The guy scrambles back up against the wall, and the wolf has no eyes for her except for making sure that it's in between her and this threat.
Right.
So she gets into her car, she peels out, and as she's peeling out, she sees the wolf just like leap on this dude. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I know you don't read a lot of paranormals, but this is a necessary step you have to take in every paranormal romance novel where a monster,
the creature,
has to murder somebody for you. There has to be a murder for you in the beginning of every vampire werewolf book.
Well, that is true romance, right?
Yes. So this is the necessary murder that takes place at the beginning of the book.
Technically, there's no murder because the guy, so here's what happens. She goes back to her cabin. She calls Evie and Buzz. They immediately come over. Buzz is also, this is my favorite, Buzz is also the sort of deputized dude in Grundy. Because otherwise it's
no
just
official titles here. He just has decided he's the law.
Well, no, and the state police coordinate with him or whatever.
Yeah.
He comes over in his official deputized uniform situation. Like he has a hat they've given him. It's very
he got
cute.
a hat. Yeah.
And so he coordinates with them, and they find out later on from the state police that this guy is no longer going to be a threat because he was attacked by this wolf, but then he got into his truck and was like screaming away as fast as he could. And he
drove off the highway,
crashed his truck.
Fiery. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably from blood loss and stuff. But he could have taken different measures and I don't know.
I'm not super sure that wasn't a staged situation that Cooper did.
No,
because,
I'm sure.
I mean, that's also a highly tropey trope of this thing of then the murder is staged to look like an accident. Like in Sookie Stackhouse vampire mystery vampire novels.
The tornado that touched down in Mississippi.
That just touched down for an instant to murder up those rat trays.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what they say is he was probably bleeding so much he drove off the road, but they never circle back to that. And I think it could be that Cooper just planted his body there and lit a match, but we'll never know. Because she never really brings it up with him, weirdly. She does kind of, but not in depth. Yeah.
So anyway, the biggest thing that happens next is they have the first frost party, right?
Is that... No. Slap, slap, kiss.
Oh my God, slap, slap, kiss! Which, P.S. listener, slap, slap, kiss was in our final 2 titles. I think that we chose correctly. Heaving Bosoms was what I came up with immediately when I was like, Erin, here's my idea. We read a romance novel. Actually, do you remember when I floated the idea that both of us read a romance novel and each tell each other about the book?
What a disaster.
Stupid.
And I was like, no, let's just read one and talk about just the one. And you were like, ooh, good.
Ooh, excellent. More like a book club. Weird. Dumbass. So, but yeah, slap, slap, kiss.
Ideas. I don't remember what our other titles were. Slap, slap, kiss was one. I don't remember, but I remember we actually did a mock-up logo for a Slap Slap Kiss.
Yeah, but we finally decided that was actually more of a screen trope and not a book trope. So,
although we have had several Slap Slap Kiss. There was one in 9 Rules to Break.
That's true.
I can't remember the other ones, but I know we've had a few.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one. What does he say to piss her off?
Oh, she shows up. So she's working at the diner and he's sitting there like an asshole. Yeah. She's being nice and she goes to pour him more coffee and she's like, hey, so maybe we could be friends or something. And he's like, oh no. He just comes out and says, I really hate it that you've made Evie rely on you. You're going to set her up for failure because, she's wanted to change the menu a bit. And she sort of uses the guilt they feel over her getting assaulted outside of the restaurant to kind of weasel her way in. And then she realizes she didn't need to do that at all because Evie's wanted to change the menu for years. She's just been dealing with Buzz's skill set and not Mo's skill set. So anyway, she's changing the menu. It's getting exciting. She shows up with these different dessert trays because she's going to start doing different desserts every day.
Y'all.
Chess squares, bitches. She's like, everything's really exciting. And she is excited to sort of invest back in this person that gave her a chance.
Right.
In a town where nobody likes outsiders. So he's like, I can't believe that you're making her rely on you before the first winter. You're going to fail. You're going to turn tail and run. And it's not going to impact you at all. But Evie is going to be just high and dry. And she is just like, enough. Like, you don't get to talk
And
to
also,
me like
Cooper, like, had Mo known a little more about you, this would have been a real good tell-off. But she didn't know enough, but you're a super-duper fucking hypocrite, Cooper.
Huge hypocrite, Cooper.
Yeah.
So instead of causing a scene, she goes outside to, actually back to the scene of her assault, and she goes through that. She's like, so I'm pissed. Smart. My heart is racing. Then I come to this PTSD spot.
Yeah, she's like, whoops, didn't mean to come back here. Now I feel even worse.
And then Cooper comes out and he's like, Evie said I need to apologize to you. And she's like, don't fucking bother. And they start talking. And then she's like, just go away from me. You obviously don't like me. I don't like what a jackass you are. So you stay away from me. I'll stay away from you. And he just lunges at her. And he grabs her face, and it's this really good kiss. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is a really good kiss. And she starts twining her hands up in his hair, and she's responding.
But she punches him before he even starts talking to her. Like, she's in like a fetal position. She's got her head between her knees, and he comes up behind her and freaks her out so bad that she clips him in the jaw immediately.
Yeah.
Before anything ever happens. Then they get in the yelling match. Then he gets smooches are good.
Oh my gosh,
I'm sorry to interrupt the smooch,
but
there has already been a punch.
Oh my
gosh.
And
then post smooch, there's another slap, right? She's real pissed at him.
She's so
like,
mad.
why
I don't
blame her on me?
It's like all the mixed signals.
I like it because you're so sexy, but like, stop.
Yeah, like my body is responding, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
So she kisses him for a minute, and then she's just like, get the fuck off of me, and pushes him away real hard.
She knees him as hard as she can in his, quote, now bulging zipper.
Amazing.
And he goes, what the hell? What the hell is that for?
And this is where she realizes, so he's like looking deeply with his crystalline blue-green eyes.
They're so familiar, Mel.
They're so
Where are
familiar.
they from? Where are they from?
This is where it all sort of coalesces because she remembers the wolf's eyes in the same alley. And she's like, oh my God. Cooper's a werewolf.
And he pulls down her neck to see all her strangle bruises and is like, oh shit, I didn't know. I'm sorry. It was so bad. Yeah.
And so then he leaves and he's like determined to actually respect her wishes and stay away from her.
Yeah. She says, don't pretend you give a shit like about my bruises. Yeah. And it's very plain how you feel about me. It's mutual. Stay away from me and I will sure the hell stay away from you. And he says, I'm sorry. Leaves.
And then his tail is between his legs. His actual tail.
Oh.
So she then is standing outside in the alleyway and she just starts cackling because she's like, this is ridiculous.
He's
also,
a werewolf.
I'm insane because werewolves can't exist. Like, I mean, she never actually says that, but that's sort of what she's thinking. And then she's like, oh, wouldn't it be hilarious to go inside now and have Evie ask me why I'm hysterically laughing and be like, ha ha ha, your cousin's a werewolf, ha ha, like friendship ender. And man, it's so good. So,
oh wait, I needed to segment. Bing, boom, bong. I'm about to save a life. Are you ready?
Yes.
After she gets strangled, bad enough to give her bruises, which strangulation doesn't always cause bruises. In fact, the most severe ones don't cause any bruises. However, after
it does, however, cause petechia in your eyeballs.
Do you want to get into this?
Nope. No, I don't. Nope.
Okay.
Can of worms closed.
Sorry. But at least her jugular was blocked because she's got some serious bruises going. You need to go to the fucking ER immediately, no matter how bad, like how minimally you were strangled. You need to go to the ER because that pressure that built up in your brain from blood not being able to escape your head through your jugular could cause blood clot, aneurysm, whole thing. And it could sleep for like 2 days. So you could think you're totally fine, you're breathing, you're good, you're talking, everything's great.
All of a
sudden
then
you just drop dead 2 days later.
Shit.
So if you are ever strangled by anybody, God forbid, anybody out there, and you're like, I'm fine, it wasn't that bad, go to the ER still and get a strangulation workup. Bing, boom, bong. Life-saving measures with Erin.
Thank you.
Because I was just like, Mo, have somebody check you out. Like, you got strangled real bad. Also, she takes a shower. Don't ever take a shower after a crime. Any kind of crime.
Yeah, don't shower after crimes.
No kinds of crimes.
Maybe if
somebody touches
you're committing them.
Well, yeah, if you could, hey, bing boom bong, getting away with crimes with Erin. Immediately shower after the crime.
Maybe I should cut that part.
No, you shouldn't. If you're a crime victim, you shouldn't
never shower. Please don't shower.
What it comes down to is whether you want there to be evidence or you don't want there to be evidence.
Right. If you've decided that it's not in your best interest to report and you're not comfortable with that, then by all means, I guess, shower.
No, if you don't want to report, go to the hospital still, do a restricted report. Get all the evidence taken, and then you don't have to report it to the cops. You might want to change your mind. Later you decide you want to report it, then you still can, and the evidence is all there. But again, if you committed the crime, throw away that evidence. This has been Obstructing Justice with Erin.
Bing boom bong.
Bing boom bong. All right, okay, moving on. Can we keep that in?
No, don't laugh. I'm going to cut that.
It was the loudest.
Guys, I told you that I pulled my neck sneezing. It's because I have a bunch of phlegms and a bunch of runny noses. And so they're running everywhere. And I just blew my nose. I know I muted it for you guys because it's the conscientious thing to do, but that's what Erin was laughing at. Okay. So
the next thing that happens is that it's Evie's birthday.
Mo's birthday.
That's what I said. Nope. Mo's birthday. So, wait, has it already been the frost party? No, it's her birthday first. Okay, so she goes
Big
into
shit
the
happens
bar.
At the frost party.
It's quiet. She's opening up the bar.
And she's also like a little bit, she's like, something is wrong. I was assaulted here. She hears some shuffling around in there. Yeah. But it's a surprise party for Mo! Surprise! And she doesn't even think anyone knows it's her birthday, but Evie read her, like, whatchamacallit, the file.
W. Yep. The
That's
W
the one.
you fill out when you work in a place.
They've also made, like, this banner out of construction paper because the nearest actual craft or party store is probably 300 miles away.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And it's so cute. And then Alan comes up and he says that he wants to make some dinners for her.
He wants to kiss the birthday girl. So she gives him a peck. And then he kind of like does one of those lip brushes. And she's like, ooh, he knows what he is doing. Yeah. This is good. Attractive man. Also, knows how to smooch.
Oh, yeah. And he scoped right before. So he obviously had an agenda. She can still taste the scope.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I want to bounce chicka bow over some Stouffer's lasagna tonight, if you would.
Mel, it upset me so much because I just feel like Alan's such a good guy. He does it right. He's doing the smooching. He's good at it. In so many of these books, the second guy is for some reason a tool shed.
Right.
This guy is totally great. He's attractive. He does the right thing. He invites her over for dinner. He makes the dinner. His house is clean. It's nice. He treats her good. Slow. The 1,000-watt smile. Yeah.
This is now months into her living there. So he's been courting her for a while.
They have a great date. You know, they talk about
No, not yet. Because Cooper walks in and sees that they've just been embracing, immediately turns tail and walks back out. And then later on, she notices at the edge of the bar where Cooper normally sits is this white box. And Evie's like, oh, that's for you. And she's like, no, it couldn't possibly be. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And she's like, listen, I saw the person who dropped it off. It's for you. So she opens it and it's this ugly looking rock. And Evie's like, no, come into the alleyway with me. And she grabs a chisel and a hammer and they break open this thing. And it's I forget what they're called. Thunder egg. That's the one.
It's all pretty inside. It's got agate.
Yeah. And she's like, man, whoever gave this to you really likes you because they're super rare, even here. She's like,
Evie.
Fucking Evie.
Like, I know who you're talking about.
It's obvious now that it was Cooper.
Evie just wants the best for Mo and Cooper.
She does. So then she goes to the date with Alan. he burns the brownies he was going to make, but don't worry, she brought chess squares. It's so good.
It's great. They have a great little date. Then they make out afterwards. She says he knows what he's doing. You know, she's not getting the zings, but, you know, it's good. Sufficient kissing. And she's like, I just want to, like, slow it down a little bit because she's thinking about her thunder egg. She's thinking about how hot Cooper is, which sucks.
No. I know.
Poor Alan.
And he's really sweet because he like goes to grab a button on her shirt and that's when she slows things down. And he's like, oh, was that too fast? Okay, you know, you're totally right. I want to do this right. And so then he walks her out to the car, gives her like a scorching goodbye kiss. And she's like, oh, who dangy. And then leaves. So then, you guys, all of a sudden, it's in the middle of the night. She is sleeping and she starts hearing this.
Whoa. When she goes back from Alan's house, she drops her keys and she's fumbling with her keys and guess who's there? Wolfie McWolfface.
The Werv.
Yeah. The Werv. And the Werv's looking at her like, will you hurry up with your fucking keys? Because, like, I'm just here to make sure you get inside. And you smooched Alan tonight and I'm not super happy about it. But I don't want you to get attacked again. So just get in your fucking house so I can leave, chase up some rabbits. And then she goes in and he leaves.
I forgot about that. Thank you for
sweet.
Reminding me. It is. And then she's sleeping.
I can't. Okay. All right, go.
Yeah. So then a few days, weeks, I don't fucking know later, she's sleeping. She hears this dragging sound on her porch and some moanings and some craziness. And so she is really smart here too. She sort of cracks the blinds or whatever and is like, I don't know who that is. And somebody's like, help, please. And she's like, I've heard that story before.
Yeah.
You could still be fully fit and able.
Ted Bundy would act injured to lure ladies.
She was like, I remember Ted Bundy and his fake cast. And I was like, Mo, I love you. Will you marry me?
That's one of the things I love about this book is I think, you know, last week we read a book that you like had all your references. This one has all my references. I'm like, Mo knows about all the things I know about. Ted Bundy, Alias. Yes, a big fan of Alias. She too. Brings up Alias a lot. Anyway. Yeah. So she kind of opens the door and she sees an ass. And it is a nice ass.
It is quite the nice little orb of an ass.
But it is an injured ass.
It is.
Because he's got a bear trap on his ankle. And he's Cooper. And she's like, wah! He's a
naked Cooper.
Yeah, real naked, too.
So he's like, please let me in. Please let me in. And she's like, okay.
I'll call 911.
And he's like, no doctors. No doctors.
Don't call any doctors.
So
because I'm a mythical creature.
That's
so
right.
They'll know. When they cut me open, it'll just be like beams of light, you know? You don't want that. Yeah.
It will. They'll be like, why are you 115 degrees? That's not, that will kill a person.
Yeah.
So he crawls into her room and she's like, I guess I have a first aid kit, ?
And she gets her craftsman tools and pries open that bear trap.
Yeah.
She doesn't first aid him until he's unconscious.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I just thought she grabbed both of them at the same time. But yes. Then, before he passes out, he says, whatever you see tonight, do not be afraid. Be scared and afraid is what I tried to say.
I feel like that's not what he said, but something similar.
It was no matter what you see tonight, don't be afraid. I thought.
Yeah. I was joking because he said scared.
Not as scared.
Yeah, and he also says he'll be fine by morning, and she's like, your whole thing is fucked up. But anyway.
Like that's gotta be broken. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, Jesus. So she falls asleep on the couch, and then she wakes up.
No. I'm sorry.
No, please.
She puts the Neosporin on him. Unnecessary. He's a werewolf. He's going to heal by morning. Gosh, don't you read the books. But he's got a quilt over his area.
Yeah, she tosses a quilt over him, and then she's like, I think I did that too soon.
Yeah, she's like, he's unconscious. I would just like to see what his penis looks like. This is a sex crime, but I was here for it. She just lifts it up, and she's like, oh.
Well, because she's thinking to herself, she's like, there's got to be one fucking thing wrong with him. So maybe he has a needle dick. Like, just maybe give me a needle dick.
And she was like, nope.
Oh, okay.
Turns out it's a real nice one.
It's just as impressive as the rest of him.
Right.
And then She falls asleep, dreaming big dreams about big things, and then wakes up and there is just a wolf sitting in front of the fireplace where Cooper used to be. And I really love this reaction because I think it's what everybody's reaction would be. She like crab crawls right over the side of the couch, like away from him.
Jumps right over and she says, for the briefest second, I thought I was going insane, or that my mom had slipped peyote into her honey oat cookies that she'd sent her for her birthday. Yeah. And she's like, really, either option was possible.
Yeah.
Oh, she's like, I tensed and wished I had thought to grab the fireplace poker. I wasn't frequently confronted with fairy tale stock characters. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, the writing in this is really funny.
Yeah. And I don't remember. I think she just stands vigil the rest of the night, right?
No, she gives them a scratch. Oh. She goes over and does, like, you know, the fist so he can sniff her, the fist, and then she gives him a scratch behind the ears, and she's like, I'm super crazy, like, this is a wolf. But then he kind of, like, gives her a look, so she stops. And then the look turns into like, why you stop scratches,
then
though?
He like turns his head into her again.
So yeah, then she stands vigil for the rest of the night. And then around sunrise, the wolf wakes up and there is a soft breeze in the air and a shudder of light. And then he is Cooper sitting there with a quilt. Yep, around his lap. And he looks kind of embarrassed. And he does like a little Obi-Wan Kenobi maneuver, and he's like, "There was no wolf." She's like, "Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work."
No, you're not a Jedi, motherfucker. And he's like, "Well, you know, it's worth a shot."
Yeah. And she says, cross my arms over my chest and arched an eyebrow at him. You showed up, seriously wounded, on my doorstep, naked. I didn't call doctors or the police, and even after you turned into a wolf, I'd say you owe me an explanation. And he says, I'm a werewolf. Just like, that I gathered. Yeah, I just love that he's like,
I get that.
I am a werewolf.
And then she goes to ask him even more questions, and she's like grilling him, and he just stands up in front of her, grabs her face, smooches her good, and then he pulls away, and he's like, oh, so kisses stop the interrogation. Yeah. I'm going to have to remember that.
She says, I have questions for you, lots of them. And he goes, about the wolf thing? She's like, no, I was hoping you'd give me your opinions on global warming, I retorted. Yes, the wolf thing. How's this possible? Were you bitten by a werewolf? Does Evie know about this? What were you doing so close to my house? And that's the smooch.
Yep.
Yeah. And after he leaves and says kissing shuts you up, I'll have to remember that she doesn't know what to do because she didn't get the last word and she's pissed. And so she yells out the door, "You're still naked."
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
So good. And then he talks to her later, right? He talks to her in town and he's like, hey, so we can keep this under wraps,
yeah,
right?
You're not going to tell anybody, right? And she's like, no, you're good. So she talks to Evie. She looks a little weird that day. She's a little freaked out having encountered a mythical creature. And Evie's like, you look kind of weird. Are you good? Saw you talking to Cooper earlier. Are you okay? What's going on? And she's like, oh, yeah, I just like ate some bad food or something. You know, like just kind of like explaining it. And then she sees that there's like some recognition in Evie's face. And she's like, bitch, you know Cooper's a werewolf. And she's like, I knew you knew. So she's got somebody else that's in on this.
And Evie tells her that she's a dead end.
She's in the deadline of the family. And Mo's like, can you? And she like moves her eyebrows up and down. And Evie's like, can I wiggle my eyebrows? And she's like, no, can you turn into a wolf? And she's like, no. So she's a cousin who her line is dead. So their only function for the pack is to like keep the secret. Yeah. And in this conversation, I think she tells Mo that Cooper was the alpha of his pack.
Yeah.
Was born the alpha and has since deserted the pack, just like Alcide Herveau. And has moved away.
I bet he's just as hot as Alcide Herveau, too. Joe Mangalingano.
Do you think he's related to Max Mangalingano?
They might be.
That's not the same name.
Wow,
I don't think it is.
I never thought of that.
It's the same name when I see it because I just see an M and then a lot of vowels and L's. But it's not. I don't think it is. And N's, yeah. Okay.
All right, so then the next big thing is the big frost party. We're finally there.
The next big thing is Susie Q, the male woman. First, what happens is, so we know Susie Q, the male woman, this thing is full of like 30 excellent, fully developed side characters.
Fabulous side characters.
One of them is Susie Q, who has told Mo that she is not going to deliver her mail until she survives the first winter because it's not worth it to learn her address and bring her mail to her. So she will call her if she gets a package, but she's not delivering it to her.
She's also blackmailed Mo for chess squares because her mom put her entire name on a package for her birthday. And she has told her that she will not tell anybody if she gets at least a dozen of her chess squares.
Then Mo produces the chess squares, gives them to Susie Q, and then Susie Q goes to the fucking like hairdresser and fucking spills the beans.
Lets it split.
And so Mo's like, you are cut off from chess squares for a month. And she's like,
you can have the lemon bars.
And she's like, I hate the lemon bars. And then Mo's like, I know. That's the point. Yeah. So anyway, so she's hilarious. Well, Susie Q gets fucked up by a wolf right outside her house, and she gets her throat ripped out, and it's bad. So she's in intensive care. Yeah. So now Mo's like, man, I just met this man who's a wolf, and like this lady just got like almost murdered by a wolf. Like, I hope it's not the same wolf, sort of thing. Also, Alan the forest ranger is the person that's hot on the case of the wolf attack. And, you know, spoiler alert, there's going to be several wolf attacks, and Alan is the person that's, like, on this.
Poor guy. He's also taking it very seriously because he loves everybody in town. So, now it's the big frost party.
I'm sorry that I want to do the whole... I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That wasn't important. I just thought that happened after the big frost party because I thought it was the same morning he left her house afterwards. But that's fine.
No. So next thing is the bear attack. So when she volunteers to go watch Susie Q's dog, which is a dachshund abomination.
Yeah.
The breed, I am familiar with dachshund abominations. I understand what she's dealing with here.
Yeah, this one apparently just looks like a Rottweiler shrunken down and elongated. But its like face isn't the long dachshund that you apparently want. I don't know.
Right.
I don't understand people who are picky about what dogs look like.
Right, but this one looks like something that shouldn't be. And I am familiar with dogs that shouldn't be because I have a dachshund that looks like, you know... Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You know, the weasels?
Yeah.
You know, the real dumb one?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what Rooster looks like.
She does. That beautiful bitch.
She's so great. I really like this dog named Oscar, who she takes into her house. Well, Oscar gets out, and so she goes out in the woods chasing after...
When she picks him up, just real quick, when she picks him up at Susie Q's, all of a sudden, what's-his-name is there again, and... He like sneaks up on her and she's
Cooper.
like, we talked about this, Cooper. You're not supposed to sneak up on me. And he's like, I just wanted to see if I could figure out like what scent was nearby. Like really, he's trying to figure out whether or not he attacked Susie.
Because he doesn't always remember his wolf times.
Yeah. So he's like, I don't smell. She's like, did you do this? And he's like, I don't smell myself anywhere. Like, I'm trying to figure this out. And
it's so sad.
Yeah. So then he gets
Oscar
out.
the dog jumps into her car and goes home with her, and she can't do anything about it. So Oscar gets out that night. She's chasing him through the forest. She's trying to get Oscar. And then grizzly bear attack.
Grizzly bear. Because Oscar has gotten the scent of an apex predator and has decided that is the best course of action.
That is a trait in dachshund abominations, I will tell you. Because Rooster has barked her face off at a full bull moose before, and I just have to gently remove this 15-pound dog from the situation before the moose charges us. So then, grizzly bear. Out of nowhere, gonna attack Oscar. She saves Oscar, and then the grizzly bear comes after Mo. It's Beauty and the Beast, but reversed. The beast is coming at Mo, and the wolf is gonna save her. and jumps at the bear, and they have a bear versus wolf sort of fight. And then the bear
and
goes away.
Oscar tries to get in there too.
Yeah, Oscar's a brave dog. It's a dachshund trait. If you Google up dachshund saves family from bear, there is more than one story of dachshund saves family from bear. Yeah.
Huh.
Doesn't work out for the dachshund.
Yeah, I was like, it just becomes bear snack, right?
Yeah, bear snack while the family can get away. But that is a brave dachshund.
True.
That is a dachshund that has sacrificed herself for her family.
Aww.
And that is what Rooster would do for me.
Oh.
So there's a bear attack. Most people would be very scared by this. We do have one fan that would be like, my life's dream, take me bear. Shout out to Leigh-Ayn.
Yeah.
Wait, that kind of made it sound like Leigh-Ayn was into bears in like a sexy way. That's not what I mean. She just really likes bears.
She just likes bears.
The phrase take me bear didn't sound great, so I just wanted to be clear.
Fair.
Because there are those books. So what's next?
Then he morphs out of wolf form and he's like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah,
and she's
stop
like,
doing
I
this
didn't
shit.
mean to. I was just going after Oscar. And he's like, leave the bear snack to be a bear snack.
Yeah, promise me you'll stop
house.
doing this. Yeah.
And so then he morphs back into wolf. Mm-hmm. And he and Oscar have a little dog conversation. And Oscar...
When he morphs back into a wolf, she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, phasing. I don't walk through the woods naked because it hurts my parts. Yeah. And then he phases. Sorry, I just love that line.
So good. So then they have a little dog conversation and they immediately flank her and head back to the cabin. And then as he's leaving, he morphs back into wolf form and he nods at Oscar. And Oscar, like, ruffles himself back. And she's like, I think that this motherfucker just put Oscar in charge of me.
Yeah.
How dare he?
Yeah.
And then he fucks off.
So then it's starting to get cold.
What is it, really?
Guess.
Is it starting to get cold?
Yeah.
What happens when it gets colder?
Are you suggesting that the big freeze party might be next?
maybe it's finally the big freeze party time.
Yeah. This chapter starts off by saying, hell isn't hot, hell is cold, eye-watering, tooth-chattering, razor-sharp goosebumps cold. And I agree with that.
That's true.
It says, winter started off small, wanting to keep my coat on hours after I've gone into the kitchen. This is something I do all the time. I keep my winter coat on in the house for so long after I've come inside. David does it too. And it'll be like, oh, I'm still wearing my hat and gloves and I've been inside for like an hour. Not being able to put my bare foot on the bedroom floor without losing my breath. And then one morning, I walked out the door, bundled into my thick down parka, felt the icy slap of air against my cheeks, and ran right back inside. So good. But yeah, where she's at, it's going to reach like 30 below, 40 below, likely.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nope, fuck that. There's no way. So Evie tells her that they need to get ready for this big freeze party. So they're going to go into town and get a bunch of supplies. And she's like, why do you do this? And Evie's like, well, a lot of our neighbors are just not going to brave the 6-foot, 20-foot snowdrifts to try to get into town to like say hi to people. So they just hibernate. Like they have enough supplies. And so this is the last sort of hurrah for 3 months or more until we all see each other again.
And it is a tradition passed down from generation to generation. Evie said solemnly in a hokey, resonant Indian folktale voice. She added, for many moons, it has provided a way for unattached men and women of Grundy to find the person they plan on shacking up with for the season.
That's right.
I just loved that. Like, you better find somebody at the freeze party. You're not going to find them after. And I don't know if it was like mentioned much in this book. I can't remember because this is a series. But the town is only accessible in the winter by snow machine. You can't get back into Anchorage or back into one of the bigger cities without a snow machine in the winter. So the people who live a couple miles out from town are going to have to snow machine in and out from even Grundy, let alone far off. And that gets cold and loud and hard to do.
Yeah. So then She's like, you are going to wear that little red dress I saw in your closet. And she's like, no, that sounds dumb. Like, why would I do that? She's like, you're gonna wear that red dress.
Because it's
like,
sexy.
She won't leave her alone about it. So she arrives at the first freeze party and takes off her coat, and everybody stops talking and looks over at her because she looks sexy.
It is a formal party, but all the men are either wearing like kind of wrinkly button downs and jeans.
Like ties and jeans.
Yeah, sure.
You know, Abner, the 82-year-old.
Abner, who tells he's hitting on her nonstop. She says he looks like the old man from old school. He tells her that if she just comes home with him, her feet will always be warm. He's got a TV. He's got a hot tub he made himself.
And he keeps on upping the ante. Yeah. He's like, not only are your feet going to be warm and the fridge will be full of meat, but now I'll promise you a color TV.
Yeah,
She's like, oh, Abner, I'm really...
She tells him she's holding out for a convertible at one point. It's great. But he's wearing a full-scale, like, all corduroy green suit, you know. And the women are wearing stuff that she says she thinks they probably ordered from a JCPenney catalog in the 80s.
It's like church attire. Yeah.
Or just probably sexy stuff for, like, 1983, but, like...
Which didn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that out loud.
Yeah. So she immediately throws her parka back on, rushes to the kitchen, and is like, Evie, this was a stupid idea. I can't believe you made me wear this. And she's like, just get out there. Like a lot of people, you know. So Alan's already seen her, I think. And Alan's like, I'm about it. And she decided when she put on this dress, she's like, I'm gonna fuck Alan tonight.
I'm bringing Alan home. That's what's happening.
This is my, like, he doesn't...
This is a good
it's
choice.
Not fireworks, but this is my shot at getting sex for the winter.
Like, and it's like the healthiest option.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him. We hit it off. Sensible choice. Right. So he's like, hubba hubba. Then Evie's like, some other people have noticed you too. And then she looks over at Cooper, who's talking to a couple people. And then somebody like nudges Cooper and like gestures over to her. And he drops his beer.
Smooth, Cooper.
Yeah, and she's like, that's the reaction ladies are looking for when they put on the red dress, is like choking on your drink and dropping your beer.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Alan asked her to dance. They two step around for a bit. And she's like, man, still no fireworks. He's like, he's had a couple of beers already. So he's being a little bit handsier than he normally would be. Still totally respectful. And she's like, I mean, I'm picking up what he's throwing down, but I don't know if I really want to carry it across the court, you know, like, ugh. And that's when Cooper is like, may I cut in? And Alan's like,
is this a movie?
Yeah. And Alan's like, rah, 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 I guess, rah. And walks away. And then Cooper grabs her and she feels all the zings. Every zing possible she is feeling. But then, of course, they bicker. And does Alan cut back in?
Yeah. Well, they have a moment where they have just a little slap kiss moment where he like pulls her in and she's, you know, taking in the spicy scent of his breaths and they're real close. And that's when Alan's like, all right, okay. I'm going to get back in here. Yeah.
And then she spends the rest of the evening just sort of like dancing with literally everybody because everybody wants to dance with her. She keeps trying to help in the kitchen and Evie keeps on shooing her back out because she's intent that Mo's going to get laid this winter. And then finally she's like, man, it's earlier than I thought it would be, but I just need to go home.
Can I go back? I'm sorry. Can I read it? The dancing?
Please.
All right. I didn't expect to see you here, I murmured as Cooper's hand slid down the fabric over my back. My breath caught and a warm liquid wave of sensation spread from my chest to my belly. Gah! Stupid sexy werewolves. This is why I couldn't take Alan home. Because as much as I cared for him, could never make me feel the way Cooper did. I would know it. And considering my responses so far, if I went to bed with Alan, he would know it. And that's the last thing I wanted to do was hurt him. Fine. Alan was the right choice. But that didn't mean sleeping with Cooper made it any more sense. I just had to think of non-sexy things right now. Baseball. Bill O'Reilly naked. The dead, fetid smell of Delta mud on an August day. Leonard Tremblay's hot tub. Wet socks. Muddy, wet, naked Cooper in a hot tub. Damn! I just love that. She's like, okay, I've decided not to sleep with Alan, but also I can't sleep with Cooper. Like, it's just going to be a sexless winter.
Yeah.
And that's when, she leaves.
So she goes out to her truck and she's unlocking it and she's like, God damn it, I feel a presence behind me. Mm-hmm. So she turns around and she's like, what do you want? Mm-hmm. And he goes, I don't like to repeat myself because while they were dancing.
Sorry, I should have read that part. Wait.
Okay.
They're fighting and she said, is this like a dog in the manger thing? And he's like, what is that? And she's like, well, is it culturally offensive to werewolves? And he's like, no, I just don't know what you're talking about, dog in the manger. And she's like, it's like, you don't want me, but you also don't want anybody else to want me. That's why you're so territorial with Alan. And he's like, I never said I didn't want you. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm not going to repeat myself. And then that's the end of their night. Mm-hmm. We think. But
he
then brushes up behind her. Yeah.
Well, wait. So outside the car, he's like, I don't like to repeat myself. And she's like, I don't have the energy for this. I'm going home. So she goes home. She pulls up to the cabin. She's unlocking the door. And then all of a sudden, here's my question. I can't remember whether or not he's naked.
Yeah,
I think
he's
might
naked.
Be naked.
Yeah, he's straight up naked because he
has
at
phased. Yeah. He's phased. She sees this wolf jumping out of the tree line, and then he phases on the way to her. He, like, the door is open. He barrels into her, picks her up, like, kisses her, and then immediately just deposits her by the fireplace and
through the door, slams the door, throws her on the floor.
And it's on.
TM, it's on. So also, Mo has like a very extensive lingerie collection. All the underwear she wears is like $300 lingerie. She's pretty stingy, but not on the lingerie. He just fucking rips it to shreds. There's petals of silk.
The dress.
Yeah, everything is just like, and it's, my favorite line in this is, she's like screaming his name. She comes like 3 times before they even have sex. I might have been embarrassed by my hair trigger response because she just came. They haven't even started.
Yeah, he's going down on her.
Yeah. I might have been embarrassed by my hair trigger response, but I didn't have the required cognitive ability. The most profound thought my brain could cobble together was, yay! I just loved it.
I need to do a bing boog bong.
Oh no.
What sex position is this with Melody? I don't know.
What?
I did not understand
you mean her
it.
like on top sex position?
Yes, I didn't get it.
Okay, this has been a bing boom bong for me for a while but I think I know what's going on.
Because this is the 3rd time you've reread this.
Yeah.
What I think is going on is she's on top of him. At first I thought she was facing him, and then I thought it was reverse cowgirl, and now I think I'm back to traditional cowgirl.
I believe that she is facing him.
And then I think she's sort of doing a camel kind of pose with her hands on her calves or her hands on the floor.
Calves.
She calls it a bridge of some sort, but that's not what a bridge is.
It would be a bridge if it were horizontal. So I think it's a camel.
Okay.
But with her hands on her calves. And then I think
and she's like arching her back a lot because obviously, and then she's moving up and down or whatever, but she's balancing. They talk about how she's like, how it's tough to balance in this position.
Here's what I think is happening. Okay. She's in camel pose, hands on calves, toes tucked under. Sometimes her knees are hitting the floor as she bounces, but she's also balancing up on her toes.
What?
That's what I think is happening. Because sometimes they talk about how her knees are on the floor, and sometimes they talk about how she's balancing on her toes. That's why it's so impressive.
Wow.
Because he's like, how do you do that? And she's like, I'm real good at yoga because I grew up on a commune. So I think that's what's happening. This is my 3rd time through. I think that's what's happening. But it has, it has confused me. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I completely forgot about it until just now, though.
Yeah, I was just confounded. So so
Molly Harper, if you are listening, which you're not,
Molly Harper, let bitches know.
Let us know. We're only an hour and 23 minutes into this. She could still be listening.
She could.
It's possible. Anyway, if you know, let us know.
Okay, then he like spoons her, right? She comes again. He tosses her on the ground, gets behind her, and spoons her until he's done. And then he's like snurfling up on her neck parts and everything. And he's like, "How did you do that?" And that's where they have the whole yoga conversation. He's like,
and he bites her when he comes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. A little bite. A little tiny bite.
Wolf bite.
Yeah.
Little werewolf bite.
Then they shack up for the whole winter.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
Weeks pass. They just are spending all of their time banging it out. Like, whenever they can't get into town, they're just at home doing all the sexes for a few months.
Do we stop here?
Oh. Yeah, I think we stop here.
Hey, guys. Silver lining. At least we got to the sex this time.
No, and I am totally comfortable with stopping here because it's been a fun ride up until now.
It has been. But a lot of times we get through part one and it's like they
haven't even kissed yet.
We'll see what happens next. All right. Sorry, guys. This is going to be a two-parter, but this is one of my favorite books, so I think that's okay.
I think that's good. Yeah. All right, cool. So Erin, talk to me about some lady loves.
Oh, I have two. Oh, I'll do the next one for part two. Stay tuned, friends. Okay. So I love the book series, The Magicians by Lev Grossman. I put off watching the show for a long time because I saw the stupid, not logo, but the intro for it looked cheap and sci-fi-like. And I was like, I just don't want this. Oh. I have I'm sure all of our listeners have had this, that you have a perfect view of what the books are and you don't want it fucked up by some like cheap-ass sci-fi show. But I caved last weekend and started watching it. And that is a bomb-ass good show.
I love it.
Everyone needs to watch this show, whether you read the books or not. It's probably weirder if you read the books or if you didn't read the books, because there's some kind of weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness in it. So
I mean, there's tons of weirdness, and
have you read those?
I didn't read the books. I love the show.
Okay, great, awesome.
Yeah,
it is fantastic. And if you are a fan of those books, what they do is they take the A and B plot from the books and they add a C and D plot, so it's just a little deeper. All those side characters get a little bit more stuff to do. It's great. It's fantastic. Perfectly cast. Really good show.
Awesome.
Everybody should watch it.
Can I just tell you, Michael hates that show. And that's one of the reasons that I know I love it so hard. Because like there are shows that Michael and I agree on, but most of the time we just vehemently disagree about television. And so he started calling it the Magicians while we were still trying to watch it together. And now I think I only watch it on Netflix when it comes out on Netflix, but I binge it so hard when it comes on Netflix. It's really good.
David doesn't really watch TV or movies. He only really has ever liked Breaking Bad and The Wire. Those are the only two shows I can think of that he actually liked. But we pulled up Netflix this week to watch something before bed. And I was like, ooh, let's watch The Magicians. And he's like, oh, I was hoping somebody who had our Netflix password was watching that. You're watching that? And I was like, shut up. It's a good show. I'm like, it probably wasn't on at the same time as Breaking Bad or it would have won all those awards. And he was like, okay, yeah, sure. I was like, no. It's good. He doesn't like fantasy things. That's okay.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
My lady love is similar, but it's just a life hack. Because I share passwords with some streaming services with like quite a few friends. Like we all share together. So my life hack
interesting.
is...
It's the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah. Why
what
don't
could
we
I
share?
Be getting for free? This is bullshit. I pay for everything.
Yeah. Basically Netflix. That's the one
David pays
we contribute.
For that.
Yeah. But a friend of mine came over because we use her Hulu. And she was like, oh man, like she was sort of doing the joking, but I'm super fucking serious right now thing, where she's like, oh yeah, I just saw all of the Sesame Street that's all over my Hulu. And I was like, oh, that's weird because I don't watch that on Hulu because I don't want to mess with your algorithm. And she was like, oh, I wonder who's doing that then. Oh, I bet it's my brother and his children. But with the rest of the stuff, like if you can create extra profiles, do that. Like I have on our Netflix, there's a profile that Michael and I share. There's one that I have dubbed Bad Movies, which Michael knows not to touch because otherwise, like, I'll get back into our profile and he's going to start seeing all the Hallmark Christmas movies he hates. And then, like, you know, we also have extra profiles for Ember and everything else. Just, like, separate it out, guys, because it's way better. I don't want your Real Housewives all over my Hulus. I don't want that. Yeah. I don't think that you want all the British procedurals that I watch on your Hulus.
Yeah, my parents have my Hulu, and so I get a lot of like shades of blue. I get a lot of like, you know, whatever is the ABC, NBC thing that's happening right now. I'm like, oh God, shades of blue fucking up my algorithm. I don't want to see that. Algorithm is done.
Anyway, so that's my sort of lady love / life hack. If you can separate it out, do it. All right. You can find us on many social medias. One of those is Instagram at Heaving Bosoms. You can find us on Twitter at Heaving_bosoms. Find us on Facebook. We not only have a page where we share shit, but we also have this really friggin' awesome group where things are just lit all the time.
It's great.
It's amazing.
It's the best.
It's like my favorite. I actually realized the other day that I haven't posted anything on my personal Facebook in I feel like
just
over
post
a month.
Everything on the group because when I'm like, should I post it on my personal Facebook or should I post it for all of my true friends?
That's so true.
Yeah.
So that is, the page is Heaving Bosoms Podcast, and then the group is Heaving Bosoms Podcast Geriatric Friendship Cult. And then on our website is www.heavingbosomspodcast.com.
Yep.
And then our Patreon, I just saw a couple of cards posted. Like, people got some cards. I'm really excited. So that is patreon.com/heavingbosoms. We do extra content there. And then, you know, depending on how much you decide to contribute, we'll send you a card. We'll do a shout out on the podcast. We'll do a bunch of fun shit.
And if you get one of the higher levels, it won't come in all. It won't all come in one bundle. We're trying to space them out so that you get a little more like happiness out of additional mail.
Yes.
So, all right.
Cool. So, Erin, keep being a badass.
And love yourself as much as you love getting attacked by a bear, Leigh-Ayn. She loves it.
I love it. All right. I will talk to you soon.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.